algebra students, those of you watching this video are getting a little practice for the quiz you're going to have on Friday. So I hope you're watching it, and those of your classmates that chose to not watch it, well, I guess they're just going to be out of luck. Anyway, let's take a look at these problems. Now remember, we're not just shooting for the how to do it, we're shooting for the why. So we're going to talk about why 6 minus 4 equals 2. I know you all know it equals 2, but we're going to talk about why. I've got a couple different ways to explain it, and I'll go through them because be prepared. You're going to have to be able to explain why, not just be able to do the problem. And no, you won't be using calculators because you're not ready to use the calculator properly. Too many of you are dependent on them. I have to break your dependence of them, get you to use the greatest calculator ever designed, the one between your ears, and then we'll come back to using the calculators as a useful tool. So one way to think about this is to say, since there's a positive 6, I'm going to start at positive 6. And then I need to take that point and I need to move it 4 spaces. But I'm going to go 4 in the negative direction. The negatives are to the left, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and look at that. I end up at 2. So that is one way to explain why 6 minus 4 is 2. Of course, you could do that with the problem number 2 there. You wouldn't start at 6, of course. You would start at negative 7. So I'm going to put my first marker at negative 7. And then I'm going to move 2. But it's a positive 2, so I'm going to move 2 in the positive direction. All right. And there it's negative 5. So negative 7 plus 2 is negative 5. That should be pretty simple. Now, if you don't like the number line example, there's another way to do it. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to make these guys my positives. So for problem number 1, I'm going to need 6 positives. So let me see here. So I believe I have 6 now. So I have 6 positives. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this number line just because it's in my way. There's 5, and here's the 6th one. And then I'll make this guy represent my negatives. And I need 4 of those. So there we go. There are 4. And what do positives and negatives do to each other? That's right. They cancel each other out. So I will cancel. Oh, that's too big. What am I doing? All right. So let's see the size of this one. That's still too big. All right, here we go. So these 2 cancel. These 2 cancel. These 2 cancel. And those 2 cancel. What's left? 2 positives. Now you shouldn't be erasing your positives and negatives. Just cancel them out. All right. If I want to do negative 7 plus 2, well, I'm going to need 2 of my positives, right? So 1, 2. But I'm going to need 7 of my negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I can see that these 2 will cancel each other out. And these 2 will cancel each other out, leaving me with the state of Maine. No, just kidding. 5 negatives. So negative 7 plus 2 is 5. That is one good way to explain it. There are other ways, but when I showed you the number line, I showed you the counter method. Okay, let's slide on down here to some order of operations problems. I put these up here on purpose for 2 reasons. One, the order of operations, we're only doing addition, subtraction, only dealing with multiplication, division, says to go left to right. Some of you are going to want to add 10 and 4 here. You can't do that. That 10 is not a positive 10. It's a negative 10. All right? So if you're going to use the strict order of operations, the first thing you're going to do is go 5 minus 10, and that'll give you negative 5. And then you have to do plus 4, And if I have 5 negatives and 4 positives, I'll be left with 1 negative. Remember, you have to go left to right when it's all addition, subtraction, or all multiplication, division. Another way to think about it, I like to think about it this way. I highlighted my negatives in yellow. I'm going to highlight my positives in green. Okay. How many positives do I have? Well, I have 9. Not 2, I have 9 because I have 5 and then 4 more. How many negatives do I have? 10. Well, if I have 9 positives, 10 negatives, they cancel. I'll be left with 1 negative. All right, let's go over here to number 4. And let's see again, if you're going to do strict order of operations, you're going to do division before the multiplication because it's left to right. Okay, so 12 divided by 6 is 2. And 2 times 5 ends up being 10. Okay, remember, I've only said it a couple times that you have to go left to right when you're only dealing with multiplication and division. All right, scrolling on down here. These two problems look the same, but they are not. Problem number 5 means negative 2 times negative 2. Ooh, that's some lovely 2's I'm making there. I'm not writing with the airliner. I'm doing this at home without it. Times negative 2. Well, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. But I said the word negative 3 times. That's an odd number. I'm going to get a negative 8 for an answer. Okay. Now, this is going to be a bad example. I want to hold on 1 second. I changed problem number 6. I realized it was set up kind of wrong. Some of you are going to think that this is just like problem number 5, where you're going to do negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. But I'm telling you, you're not going to do that. Because of the order of operations, I do exponents before I do subtraction. So this problem is really, let me put my subtraction sign out front, and then I need 2 to the 4th. So I need 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. I'm going to multiply my 4 2's together and then make it negative. And I'm going to end up with a negative 16. Had I done it negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, I would have gotten a positive 16. So we have to pay attention. When there's parentheses, the thing inside the parenthesis repeats this number of times. Notice there are 3 negative 2's. But there are no parentheses in this one, so only the 2 repeats 4 times, and then there's a negative out front. Okay, I don't want this video to go too much longer, so I'm going to speed things up here a little bit. Here's an order of operations problem. I will do my exponent first, and I'll get 9. 3 to the 2nd power is 9. Now I'm going to do the multiplication before the division because it goes left to right. Notice I'm ignoring the, addition and subtraction right now. So I'll do 4 times 3 and get 12. And then I need a plus sign. And I'll do 12 divided by 6 and get 2. Now, I'm still going to go left to right. So if I do it the order of operations way, I'm going to do 9 minus 12 and get negative 3. Then I'm going to add 2 and negative 3, positive 2 makes negative 1 for my answer. Okay, that's one good way to do it. You have to follow the order of operations. Again, you could have done it at this point, said, well, hey, I've got 12 negatives, and how many positives do I have? I have 2 there and 9 there, so altogether I have 11 positives, and therefore I have 11 positives, 12 negatives, comes out to be negative 1 for an answer. All right, my last example to help you get ready for the quiz is this fraction. We're going to subtract this fraction. Remember, we need a common denominator. Now, some of you want to make the common denominator of 40. Easy for me to say, common denominator. But I'm telling you that 40 is not the best denominator. In fact, I am going to count by tens until I get a number that the 4 goes into evenly. So, oops, let's get in marker mode here. So I'm going to count by 10. So I'm going to say 10, and then I'm going to say 20, and I'm going to yell, stop, because 4 goes into 20, right? So I want to turn both denominators into 20. 10 goes into 20, 4 goes into 20. So I'm going to multiply the 10 by 2. I'm going to multiply this by 2. And this new fraction will become 4/20. Now some of you are thinking, well, Mr. Lawrence, I could have simplified 2/10 to 1/5. Yes, you could have. And if you had done that, your common denominator still would have been 20, and you would have just ended up getting 4/20 anyway. So I chose to not simplify in this case. All right, now over here I have to multiply the 4 by a 5 because I want the denominator to be 20. If I multiply by 5 in the denominator, I have to do it in the numerator. And so this will end up being 15/20. All right, so 15/20 minus 4/20, well, that would be 11/20. And there you go. There is the answer, 11/20. Okay, that should help you get ready for the quiz on Friday. Good luck to you all. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.